Two boys grew up as best friends in a small village. They were inseparable, sharing everything they had and dreaming of a better future together. One of them came from a struggling middle-class family. They weren't rich, but he had parents who loved him and did their best to provide for him. The other boy had no parents. He had never known them and was raised by his elderly grandmother, who was poor and barely managed to feed them. Despite their different backgrounds, their friendship never changed. Life was hard. Every day they took on difficult jobs, hoping to earn enough money to survive. But no matter how hard they worked, they remained poor. One hot afternoon, after another disappointing day, they sat under a tree thinking about how to escape poverty.
I have an idea.
The middle-class boy said.
What is it?
His friend asked.
There is a very rich man in this village. Every afternoon, everyone in his house goes out. If we enter and steal some valuables, we'll finally have enough money to change our lives.
At first, the orphan hesitated. Deep inside, he knew stealing was wrong. But hunger, frustration, and hopelessness clouded his judgment. Eventually, he agreed. The next afternoon, they sneaked into the rich man's house. Everything went according to plan. They packed expensive items and escaped without seeing anyone. They thought they had succeeded. What they didn't know was that the rich man had secretly installed a tiny hidden camera inside his bedroom. The camera captured both of their faces clearly. The following morning, the police arrived. Both boys were arrested. After the investigation and court proceedings, they were found guilty and sentenced to prison. Their families desperately pleaded with the wealthy man to forgive them. For weeks they begged. Finally, the rich man agreed to show mercy.
I forgive them, but each family must pay 500,000 naira to the police to allow them to be released.
For the middle-class family, it seemed impossible, but they refused to give up. They borrowed money, sold valuable possessions, and after several weeks, they gathered the 500,000 naira. Their son was released. The orphan watched as his best friend walked out of prison. He smiled for him, but inside, his heart shattered. His grandmother cried day and night.
Where will I find 500,000 naira?
She kept asking. She had nothing. No husband. No children. No land. No savings. No one came to help. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Months became years. Slowly, everyone forgot about the young man still sitting behind prison walls. Every night he blamed himself.
I made the mistake of following someone who had people waiting for him.
He prayed constantly, believing God would somehow make a way. But as the years passed, even his faith began to fade. He eventually accepted that he might die in prison. 10 years later, one afternoon, prisoners were allowed out to beg passing visitors for money to buy food and toiletries. As usual, the young man stretched out his hand.
Please, help me.
A well-dressed barrister stopped. Instead of giving him money immediately, he noticed the bruises and scars covering the young man's body.
What happened to you?
The barrister asked. The young man told him everything from his childhood, to the robbery, to watching his friend go home while he remained forgotten for 10 long years. The barrister listened silently. When the story ended, he simply said,
"I'll get you out."
The young man laughed bitterly. He had heard promises before. Nobody ever came back. Weeks later, the impossible happened. The barrister paid everything required for his release. For the first time in 10 years, the prison gates opened for him. He stepped outside as a free man. But freedom did not feel the way he had imagined. He returned to the small hut where he had once lived with his grandmother. It was abandoned. Neighbors told him she had died years earlier, heartbroken, never giving up hope that her grandson would someday return home. He stood in silence. The only person who had ever truly loved him was gone. The barrister gave him a small amount of money to help him start life again. It wasn't much, but it was all he had. As he struggled to rebuild his life, he heard something that left him speechless. His childhood best friend, the one who had been released 10 years earlier, was now one of the richest young men in the region. Standing alone with nowhere to go, the young man realized that leaving prison was not the end of his suffering. It was only the beginning of another journey.